Hello boys and girls, and welcome to, once again, Kratuga Ruins, the second video for this area, because let's just say after I saw some of your feedback on the comments and after thinking about it for a little bit more, I decided that I'm not really very pleased with the outcome of the first video. I know that usually once I test an area, I take a very long time to actually return back to it because I want to test more areas. So I figured, yeah, 5 hours isn't really enough. I feel like there is much more potential to Kratuga Ruins, so I went back to test it again. If you remember the first video, and I will link it above in case you want to see that one as well, it's not necessarily required to see the first video to understand this one, because, you know, let's just say they are not a continuation. Both of them are basically the same test but with different outcomes. And after the 5 hours I went to test HYSTRIA. I spent about 10 hours or more at HYSTRIA, and in those 10 hours or so I got to kind of understand how my class works. I recently rerolled to Guardian, and after I learned more or less how the class works, I felt like if I was to return back to Kratuga Ruins, I could actually pull more than what I did in that video. In the first Kratuga Ruins video, I got an average of 4,500 trash per hour with a normal loot scroll, and today I actually got much more than that. If you remember, I was estimating maybe I could pull 5,500. Yeah, for today my average was about 5,600 trash per hour with a normal loot scroll, which is much better than the previous video. And yeah, let's get started with the video. Before that, there is a small little project that I thought about starting a couple of days ago. A long time ago, I did a similar, let's say, community project where I asked some of you guys to maybe contribute with some data. That one failed in a way, and since then I didn't really decide to touch on this idea, but I figured why not give it another try. I know most of you are not really interested in something like that, so I'm just gonna leave the details for the end of the video. I will put a timestamp if you want to just maybe skip to that part, but basically I would like to invite, let's say, some of you guys to contribute with grinding data for the next area. Let's say next video will be on Aakman. What if maybe I get at least, let's just say I get 5 or 10 of you to contribute data, and maybe those people grind 5 hours each. Instead of getting 10 hours for a video, maybe I could end up with 50 hours grinded or 100 hours grinded. Seems like an interesting idea, but it relies a lot on you guys actually, you know, providing data. So let's see how this turns out after the end of the video. So let's talk about what I got today with version 2.0 on Kratuga Ruins. The first thing I'm going to point out is that I got a new rotation. So I went back into Kratuga Ruins with initially the intention to just simply grind a few more hours and see really what is the difference between the first video and this one, where, you know, after the HYSTRIA experience. By the way, the first thing you're going to notice different, besides the rotation, which should already be playing in the background, is that this time, returning back to Kratuga Ruins, I have a tent for this video. It's not a Pearl Shop one, although it's a bit tempting to get that one because currently it's on sale. I still don't see it as being worth it, especially after experiencing the free tent. I find the free one being good enough. I don't need it always, especially the repair part. Some areas have repair NPCs, and yeah, the free tent requires some silver to make it work, but it does its job, and you know, always spend in-game money over real money if possible. Anyway, returning back here, still the fact that this place has no repair NPC is kind of an issue. I would say if you want to grind this place, first of all, if you have the Pearl Shop tent, you're pretty much good to go. If you don't have the Pearl Shop tent, then at least make sure you do the quests and get the free in-game tent, the one that requires silver, because you will need it mostly for repairs. I guess you could use it for inventory space, for storage. I did use the 1 million tent buff every now and then, although I didn't use it every session. Like, I didn't make it a quest to always pick it up. I just got it whenever I remembered. And about the rotation, I will say it's much better than the ones I showed on the previous video. When I came here back, I first of all tried to look around the cave to see what rooms could potentially make a new rotation, and I tried to go for the same idea as I did at HYSTRIA, where maybe I would combine 2 different rooms or something to make a bigger rotation, because if you remember from the previous video, I did have respawn issues on most rooms, and even on the last one I showed there, I still couldn't really get too much more out of it. So for today, I believe the rotation by now should be done playing. Maybe the one that I chose isn't exactly a dual room rotation, because it's basically a huge circle, one single circular type room, I suppose, with a form of gap. I mean, you can see it on the screen. It's basically one single room, a big one. I tried it in the first hour, and at first I wasn't sure if the special event with security level actually happens in this room, because I believe in the first hour I didn't get to see it at all. But starting from the second hours onwards up to the 10th hour, I got that security level 1 and 2 event basically almost once per hour. I believe there was 1 hour where it happened twice, but in general it was once per hour. It took me a little bit to get used to where the monsters spawn to actually kill them. There were 2 of those events that I failed to do. The first one because I didn't know where all of the packs were in time, and the second one that failed was because, I guess, of a bug. I tried to kill all of the packs, but nothing happened. Like, there was no message to show me that the event ended, you know, the red one, or the level 2 security happening. So basically, I guess it froze or something. It just, nothing happened. Besides those 2 failures, I got I believe a total of 7 of those security level elite monsters, the ones that can drop the latent power stones. Yes, I do read your comments, and it's sometimes constructive feedback. You know, I learn new things that I didn't know. Other times I just question myself, why are you pointing out stuff that I already know? But anyway, those definitely are something that you want to do if you grind here. The event where level 1 security happens, when that one appears, a couple of monster packs are going to spawn, and what you want to do is to kill those as fast as possible, because I don't know exactly how many packs are. Maybe you can see it on the screen if I'm going to show it, but basically after you kill all of those packs, there's going to be a level 2 security where 2 mini elite monsters are going to spawn. You kill those, and then the big elite monster appears. If you kill that big elite monster, you have, someone told me, 10% chance to drop a light and power stone from it, so it's definitely worth doing. If not, at least you're going to get 1 Kafra stone and some other mini drops besides that. So I guess let's talk about my experience here and the hours. I got a total of 10 hours and 4 minutes because 2 of those sessions had to be extended just because the stupid event with the security happened basically as my loot scroll was expiring, so I had to do those outside of my loot scroll session, which is in a way annoying because, you know, I had to kill 2 of those elites without any loot scrolls active, so maybe that influenced the drop from them a little bit. Other than that, this time I had a 100% loot scroll because I just wanted as much trash as possible, no other reason. A common steel blessing and a 50% drop rate event, which is basically the Arsha buff. I know it's a little bit unrealistic looking at this, saying that I grinded 10 hours on Arsha without any problems, without any PvP or contested spots, but if you want similar results to mine, I suppose you will have to grind on the Harsha server, and I don't know how contested this place is on Harsha. Besides that, yeah, let's talk about the loot table, because I believe that's everything I wanted to point out before the loot table part. So in total, I managed to get 5 Tungrad earring drops, which seemed to me quite a lot compared to the previous test on this place where I grinded 5 hours and I got no Tungrad at all. This time it is more or less what people said in the comments, 1 Tungrad in 2 hours was the average, 1 Tungrad in 2 hours. I got 1 Pride Tungrad drop, I believe, from one of those level 3 security monsters. I got 1 Elkar crystal drop, I believe in the 2nd or 3rd hour spent here. So let's say I had 5 hours from the first video, then these 2 hours, which makes about 7 hours total spent here, and then the rest of this test, another 8 hours or so. So maybe if I grind here 5 more hours I can get a second Elkar, I don't know, but for today I got 1 of them. And I got 1 latent power stone, which I suppose it's decent. Maybe you can expect 1 of them in 10 hours, I don't know. I hear the drop rate is about 10% from those special elites, but you can never know how RNG works. Trash per hour got a lot better, so my official is 7.5 thousand trash per hour average with the 100% loot scroll, although there were some sessions where I just couldn't be bothered to grind fast enough. I was basically grinding, sometimes brainless, watching my secondary monitor, some entertainment. Some sessions I remember they were close to 8,000 trash per hours, others were slower. This is just the average, so 7.5 thousand. With the normal loot scroll it would be about 5.6 thousand, which I believe it's doable for most classes. I know that I'm playing Guardian, which is supposed to be one of the best PvE classes at the moment, but I believe it's doable for most people with similar gear score to mine. I did die once here, I remember, mostly because as I said, sometimes I was grinding brainless and I just simply couldn't be bothered to rotate my skills properly. So I did die once. My DP is pretty high at 327, but I believe if you have 320 DP you should be fine here. The monsters do hit very hard, but if you, let's say, don't let yourself get CC'd, you should be fine. I remember I said in the previous video that these monsters have either knockdown or bound. I think I pretty much figured it out. Some of the bigger ones have a bound skill, so you can get bound once. I don't think it's a knockdown because it doesn't last long enough. So they do bound you once, and by the time you actually get back up on your feet, they will also stiffen you. So usually you get those 2 CCs in succession. So first you get bound, then you get stiffen, and then maybe if you don't do anything, a super armor skill or something, you will get a 3rd CC after that. So be careful, I suppose, when you grind. I got a total of 184 forbidden books this time, about 18 average. So I'm not sure, let's actually check what was the average for the previous session. It was 15, but that was with, no, actually the loot score doesn't matter because that one is just for trash. So previously I had 15 forbidden books average, this time I have 18 of them. And besides that, I don't really think I need to mention any of the other smaller drops. You do get some blackstones, a decent amount of them, let's say 18 and 20, so about 38 per hour. Caphara stones only drop from that level 3 security elite, so they don't really drop from the normal monsters. Iona fragments are pretty decent, I got 2 of them average per hour. Some travelers maps, quite a lot of them actually, 3.4 average per hour. Sadly these don't really sell on the marketplace, these are the only ones that take a very long time to actually sell. Everything else should sell normally. And yeah, I wanted to point out the seals, these thingies over here that you use to actually enter the dungeon instead of paying the Black Spirit Claw. Some people said in the comments that you get so many of these that you don't really need the black spirit claw to enter here, but my average after all of the hours was 2.4 of them per hour, and you need 3 of them to make the entrance key. So yeah, I suppose in general, if you grind about 1.5 hours here, you should be able to make the sealed thingy to enter back inside for free. So that's pretty nice, but it relies on the fact that you can actually grind, let's say 2 hours every single time before you have to leave the cave. And that's more or less it, honestly. My average income was 165 millions per hour with my 100% loot scroll, but with the normal loot scroll, which is basically the baseline for this series, I got 150 millions per hour, which honestly it's actually quite a lot. I like to claim that, I would like to claim that this place is 150 millions per hour, but it's not. This Tungrad earring here, I should put a 0 because you're probably not going to see a Pride Tungrad. You might not see a Latent Power Stone as well. I would say 1 Elkar Crystal in 10 hours should be decent in terms of drop rate. I hear the drop rate for those is pretty low, but I'm still going to leave 1 of them in 10 hours. That seems, you know, reasonable. Tungrad earrings, I hear it's fine to get 1 of them in 2 hours, so I'm gonna leave it like that and say that probably the official money per hour rate should be about 124, something like that, but you know, I got 150. I will say it again, I still stand by the fact that this place is very RNG based. If you don't get lucky with the RNG drops, then you're probably better off grinding HYSTRIA instead. But if you do feel lucky, you know, getting the Elkar crystals and all of that, then maybe consider grinding this place. I actually changed my mind and I actually like this area now that I came back to it. Previously I said that I wouldn't recommend this, but honestly, if you have the AP to grind here, and if you have let's say over 300 DP, at least 300 DP, enough to, you know, try it out for 1 hour, and if you feel like you can grind it, if you don't feel like you're dying after every single pack, then maybe consider grinding here, because the money per hour is good. The experience, I didn't test it, but it seems to be decent experience as well. It doesn't seem to be that populated, at least it wasn't in my 10 hours, this place. Maybe this will change in the future, I don't know, but for now it seems to be decent income, and if you want an alternative to HYSTRIA for once, I will say, yeah, maybe come here. You don't have to go through the desert, it's very close, especially if you live in Heidel, it's very close to come here to grind. You don't need to deal with all of the finding the right portal and all of that. So I'm gonna end the video here because I pretty much said whatever I wanted to. Let's say not end the video, but get into that special community thing that I mentioned previously. If you're not into that, I guess you can leave right here. I will see you with the next video, and yeah, let's talk about that thingy. So basically what I want is to ask some of you guys if you want to grind the same area as me, in the form of my next video will most likely be Aakman Temple. That one people voted as, you know, they would like to see that one first, so I'm most likely going to go and grind Aakman Temple. What if we all go in and raid Aakman Temple? You know, let's say, I don't know how many of us, but a couple of us at the very least go and grind that place in the same time for about a week. The time limit for this experiment, I suppose, will be exactly 1 week from the moment I post this video, and what I'm going to ask of you basically is just 3 important things. The first one, I would like to see a screenshot of your gear, your pets, your class, your server, which is all of them are shown basically in one single server. The class, the server, the gear, the pets, those are the most important. And also if you play Succession or Awakening, that's important because some people will have more AP, some people will have less AP, some people will have better or worse pets. I don't know, but I'm curious to see the differences. Secondly, I would like to see similar screenshots to mine in terms of start and end after each individual grinding session. There is no limit. You can grind 5 hours, you can grind 10 hours, you can grind how many hours you want. I will just ask a minimum of, let's say, 3 to 5 hours minimum to make it worth it, because otherwise there's no average to be made. And all you have to do is to take a screenshot of your inventory before you start your grinding session, and after you start your grinding session also try to somehow mention if you have a Kamasil blessing, if you have the Arsha buff, if you have a loot scroll. And the third thing would be consistency. I would like to say that you can grind freely, but honestly there has to be some consistency in this type of test. So if you're going to grind with a loot scroll, use the exact same loot scroll, the 50% one or the advanced one. Don't use both of them, just pick one of them. If you grind without the loot scroll, then grind all of the hours without the loot scroll. If you're going to use the Kamasil blessing, use it for all of the hours. If you're going to use the Arsha server, use it for all of the hours. Otherwise just grind on the normal servers. And try in a way to keep your inventory clean, I suppose, because I'm going to do all of the work in terms of putting the items in an Excel file and doing the money per hour value. I just need to be able to see clearly what you got after each individual session. You know, basically don't have a lot of you know what I mean, just clean up the inventory. If possible, maybe do what I do and use an empty bank or something to store all of the items you get from your sessions. And at the end of, let's say if you plan yourself to grind only 5 hours, at the end of that just take a screenshot of your bank or wherever is stored everything you got from the Aakman grinding session, and that would be much easier for me to see exactly what you got. Also in terms of the trash per hour and all of that. So I don't know how many people will do this. I feel like I should have simplified the explanation for this to make it easier to understand, but if even 10 people do this and they all grind 5 hours, that's already 50 extra hours of information that I could get and use for that Aakman video. So let's see how that turns out. Maybe next time I will try to explain it shorter and easier if this project turns out to be successful. If not, it will be forgotten and I'm probably never going to mention community stuff again. Oh, I forgot to say where you actually send the screenshots to me. So basically you have a start screenshot, end screenshot for every session, one with your gear. So if you grind 5 hours, that should be a total of 11 screenshots at least, if not more. I would like more if possible. You just put all of those in an archive, you know, you put them in a folder in an archive, you make it a zip or whatever, and then you send it to my Discord server in any chat you want, probably just the general one because I don't really use Discord much, but just make sure you tag me in Discord so I can see it, and that's more or less it. From there I will see the screenshots and I will, you know, put them in Excel and do all of the math part. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. At least I did. I learned that I should never stop at 5 hours for an area in terms of money per hour, because especially if that spot is known to be RNG based, I should at the very least spend 10 hours per area. I will see you with the next one. Until then, if you want to grind Kratuga Ruins, be nice and, you know, don't grief each other. So goodbye.